Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Supreme Court suspending Parliament was unlawful. Judges rule. So, court is back in session. Yes, indeed it is. Starting from tomorrow, first thing, that's why there have been changes. Dominic Raab has come back early. Jeremy Corbyn, who was supposed to close the Labour conference on Wednesday afternoon, has brought it forward to today in order to get back to Westminster tomorrow so that they can delay Brexit proceedings even more and try, of course, to stop Brexit from happening at all. Boris Johnson says this is a verdict that we will respect. I love the fact that he is still determined to leave on Halloween. He was told in the interview, said, well, are you still going to leave by Halloween then? And he said, well, yes, we will. We most definitely will, and we are trying to get a good deal for the people of this country, but we understand now that it's going to be more difficult, given that there's been a spanner in the works, a monkey in the wrench, if you will, as a reference to Die Hard. That's happened, and that is going to make the situation more difficult, but he's still determined to leave by Halloween, as the law stands. To which the interview, of course, said, well, but you can't leave by Halloween, can you? If you don't have a deal, then it has to be extended to the end of January. To which Boris said, no, we're definitely leaving on Halloween. Definitely leaving, and I respect that a great deal. That seems to be the difference between Gina Miller and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson is saying, well, hey, the bosses of the government are the people, the sovereignty of the state, of the United Kingdom, whereas, of course, Gina Miller is not saying that. She's going more akin to something like, well, this is what the chattering classes and the political elites want to happen, so this is what we're going to wangle to ensure that it does. It's a very different turn of events. So, let's read on. Johnson suspended or prorogued Parliament for 5 weeks earlier this month, but judges said it was wrong to stop MPs carrying out duties in the run-up to Brexit on Halloween. Supreme Court President Lady Hale said the effect on the fundamentals of democracy was extreme. Well, who's the one that's trying to stop democracy from taking place by trying to prevent Brexit from happening at all? It's been 3 years now, so what the hell? We're supposed to leave 2 years after it was triggered, 2 years after the referendum, but then it's 2 years after Article 50, in which case it's supposed to be April this year, and then it wasn't, and now it's delayed to Halloween. Now we actually have a Brexiteer leading the country, so hopefully that can happen. And people keep saying he's unelected, but he's decided by the Conservatives, and the Conservatives voted in by the people. As far as snap elections happen, well, he's offered twice to say, well, how about we have an earlier election? And people, including Diane Abbott and Corbyn on 4th September, they decided to not support it. It's like, well, okay, well, if you're calling for an election, then let's make it happen, but then you're not going to make it happen. Corbyn's latest remarks have been, well, he should resign, we should have a vote of no confidence. It's like, okay, cool, so if that goes ahead, you either reform a new government within 14 days, or you have a snap election within 14 days. And I'm sure there'll be an earlier election, but who do you think is going to win between campaigning for Brexit or not? I know that Swinson of the Lib Dems said a while back, well, hey, you can't say that voting for a party that supports Brexit is people supporting Brexit, because there are a whole host of issues. But of course, if they get voted in, which they won't, but if they do, their policy is to revoke Brexit from happening at all. So she is deciding to make it just a single issue. So basically she can't decide, but she'll do whatever pleases her. There are no standards. So the PM said he profoundly disagreed with the ruling, but would respect it. A raft of MPs have now called for the Prime Minister to resign, and some say they will attempt to force him out if he does not go of his accord. That's not going to happen. Of course he's going to get voted in again. He is an excellent campaigner, as has been mentioned for years now. So, undeterred, Mr Johnson insisted he wanted to outline his government's policies in a Queen's speech on 14th of October, and to do that, Parliament must be prorogued and a new session started. But critics said he was trying to stop MPs scrutinising his Brexit plans, and the suspension was far longer than necessary. Well, yeah, but so was the session of Parliament. During a speech in New York, the PM said he refused to be deterred from getting on with an exciting and dynamic domestic agenda, and to do that he would need a Queen's speech. And I do love that he continues to go with positivity, and that's essentially what got Trump elected, as far as I'm concerned. He was creating a positive message and saying, well, these good things will happen. Meanwhile, the Democrats were saying a load of bad things, and, oh yes, but we're going with Project Fear. It's the same with Brexit, and obviously Brexit won out, and it will continue to do so. The court ruling does not prevent him from proroguing again in order to hold one, as long as it does not stop Parliament carrying out its duties without reasonable justification. But who's going to interpret that? Well, you're going to have pro-Remain Supreme Court justices. And who chose them? Well, that was created by Tony Blair, of course. So it isn't as if it's been going on for centuries. It's been going on for just under a couple of decades. So it's hardly it's hardly anything to be revered. Number 10 source said the Supreme Court had made a serious mistake in extending its reach to these political matters, and had made it clear that its reasons were connected to parliamentary disputes over and timetables for Brexit. But Lady Hell emphasised in the ruling that the case was not about when and on what terms the UK left the EU. It was about the decision to suspend Parliament. Yeah, I don't believe all of this politicking. She's already expressed her disdain in the amount of female representation on the court, even though she was the first one there. So I think we know where her interests lie. So let's just run through these things quickly, saying what does it mean for Boris Johnson? They're saying, so what, according to that view of the world, if that includes the judge as part of the establishment standing in his way, saying that he's prepared to run a general election campaign that pits Parliament against the people. Yes, let the people actually have a voice. Again, wouldn't that be nice? Johnson said it was an unusual judgment, adding, the prerogative of prorogation has been used for centuries without this kind of challenge. That's my speech impediment acting up again. PM said getting a deal was not made much easier with these sorts of things in Parliament or the courts, but insisted the UK would still leave on Halloween. And good man. Comrade Corbyn. Yeah, and Comrade is mentioned a hell of a lot in their conference. Check out the Thinkeries video from Sargon's second channel for that. Or is it the third now, if you count the Numa Media? Either way. So, of course, then these people are saying that they respect the judgment of the Supreme Court because it appeals to them. But they don't respect the judgment of the people who voted them in the first place. But hey, what upside-down world is this? So, there's people involved. So as he was in New York, Johnson was backed by President Donald Trump at a joint press conference at the United Nations in New York. Yes, and get used to writing that for another 4 years, BBC. US President Donald Trump. Get used to it. I'll tell you, I know him well. He's not going anywhere, said Mr. Trump after a US reporter quizzed the Prime Minister on whether he was going to resign. Good man, good man. But the reaction at home was far more negative. Well, of course it fucking was. Scotland's First Minister, the SNP's Nicola Sturgeon, said the ruling was the most significant constitutional judgment in her lifetime, and it would be unthinkable for Mr. Johnson to remain in office. Remain! have an election. Go for it. Jesus. Yes, but let's just finish up now. See if they've got a conclusion right at the end, what they're going to say. They've got the Brexit calendar. Good stuff. And let's see. MPs have been expecting to be in recess for some of these weeks for their party conferences, but unlike prorogation, a recess must be agreed by a vote, and the number of MPs so they would have voted against it to ensure they could scrutinise Johnson's Brexit plans. The decision to prorogue prompted an uproar from the Commons, especially from MPs who had planned to take control of Parliament to force through a law to block a no-deal Brexit, after Mr Johnson said the UK would leave the EU with or without a deal on the Halloween deadline. Yes, we know. Basically saying, we're not going to let you leave with no deal, we're not going to let you leave with that deal, because that deal isn't good enough, and just never let it happen. Despite only sitting for a week, they did manage to pass that law ahead of prorogation and to receive royal assent on 9th of September. Yep, funny that, isn't it? That they can take years to get anything done if it was help Brexit happen, but as soon as it comes to, oh, Brexit might actually happen, what can we do to stop it? Yep, we're going to pass it in a week. So, what do they really want? It's pretty clear by now. So hey, fix this mess, have an election, get it over with, let the Tories in the Brexit party reclaim the house, essentially, and let's get over with. But let me know what you guys think below. Always intrigued to hear your guys' insights. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.